All right, we're back. Graveyard Shift Movie Podcast, episode number 154. And this week, first off, there's no face cam. I didn't feel like it today. I haven't fucking showered. My hair is a mess, messier than it usually is. So we're just gonna go with no face cam today. But besides that, we're talking about Q the Serpent, or what is it? Q the Winged Serpent from 1982. Oh boy, was it something. First off, this movie is in no way a horror movie. It was on Shudder, because I guess why not? Um, but yeah, it's in no way a horror movie. It's more of like a crime sci-fi drama, if anything. But besides that, man, this movie was pretty fucking good. I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10. It slows down to after in like the third act, but it's good enough that who's the Michael Matry, I think is his name, um, who plays Quinn, who is basically the main character. Um, he's fucking great in this movie. He also reminds me of Bill Burr like a lot in this movie, and so I just kept calling him Bill Burr. Yeah, Michael Moriarty is his name, but he plays Quinn, who's the main character, and he's amazing in this fucking movie. He was every time he was on screen, I was so happy to watch him. David Carradine is also in this movie, and it's David Carradine actually trying. If you know anything about David Carradine, you can watch a lot of his fucking B movie action roles where he just does not give a fuck, and he's like drunk all the time and shit. But in this movie, he's actually like trying. He puts in a good performance. I think most of it probably has something to do with the fact that him and the director, I think it was they served in Vietnam together. That's how they knew each other, and they were friends. So he probably didn't like half-ass it for his friend. He was like, "All right, I'll actually try here." But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Um, like I said, it slows down. You'll get a lot of. I guess it's not technically a dragon, but I kept calling it a dragon. You get a lot of the dragon in like the first 10 minutes, and then after that, it kind of slows down on the dragon, and you miss it a little bit. But Michael Moriarty, he fucking single-handedly carries this movie on his back with his performance. So I'm gonna give it a 6.5. Spoiler warning: if you've never seen Q, the Winged Serpent, and you were really looking forward to it, I'm about to ruin everything about it. So you have been warned. The movie starts off with a window cleaner on, I think it was the Empire State Building. I'm not sure where the window cleaner was to start. But he's like knocking on the window, and he's like waving at this lady who's in there, like cleaning, and she's waving back, and he can't hear her obviously. So she's inside, and she's like, "Look at you, you fucking sack of shit over here waving, you creep. How many times are you gonna come by and clean my window and shit?" And he just keeps waving and smiling, having no idea that this lady's just shit talking him. And I was like, "Oh man, poor guy." And then he gets his fucking head bitten off by a goddamn dragon that comes swooping by. And yeah, his like headless corpse slumps against the window and shit. It was great. It was a great way to start the movie. David Carradine shows up. He's a cop. His name is Shepard. That's all I know about him. He has a partner, and his partner's name is... I don't know. His partner will go by David Carradine's partner from here on out. And they show up, and they're like, "Oh, shit, what do you think happened?" And David Carradine is like, "Oh, I imagine something fell from higher up and knocked his head off or whatever." But his partner's like, "Well, his head's not down here. What the fuck?" And he's like, "Yeah, well, look at how far it fell. It would be like dropping a cantaloupe from a goddamn roller coaster," or whatever he equated it to. But either way, they can't find a head. the guy's like, listen, I don't think there's any way that windows don't open up. So it would have had to have been something from the roof. And David Carradine is like, well, maybe it just fucking fell off. Who knows? And that's the end of that scene. So there you go. There's your first entry to David Carradine's character. We then go over to a gang meetup or a crime meetup where these dudes are like at a diner and they're discussing their plan to rob what we'll learn is a like diamond shop. You know, they sell diamond rings and shit. And we meet our main character, Quinn, who is a getaway driver. And he's telling me, you know, he wants 20%. He stays in the car. He doesn't carry a gun. And he only, you know, he just drives them. And they're like, you'll get 12.5 fucking percent and you'll be fucking happy. And he's like, listen, y'all aren't the only game in town. And I can go anywhere and get, you know, a job or whatever. And they're like, yeah, well, good fucking luck with that. We cut over to a corpse in a bed that I thought was burnt to a crisp. And once again, because I was like, oh, it's a dragon, so it fucking burned him. But no, in fact, he was flayed, and we even get a shot of someone taking a knife and like carving off skin out of the cheek or whatever. And yeah, this guy's skin, and it's a real gruesome looking body. So now they're like, what the fuck is going on? You know, we got a missing head, and this guy's been skinned. We then go over to a rooftop where we get a woman who's sunbathing, naked, of course. We get they zoom in on her titties as she's rubbing in the lotion and shit. And there's a guy perving on her across the street on another building with a telescope. And he, like, claps his hands. He's like, fuck yeah, titties. But, once you know it, the dinosaur comes down and fucking scoops her up. And it fucking takes her away. And then we get a cool thing where people on the streets below, it starts raining blood on them because the dinosaur's carrying the bloody corpse over the town or whatever. And I thought that was cool. So, we go over to Quinn, who shows up at this bar that I believe his girlfriend, or I think it's just his girlfriend. I don't think they're married. But his girlfriend works at. And she wanted him to try to get a job as the musical act, playing the piano and shit. So he goes over to the piano and starts playing and sings this weird fucking scat song that fucking sucks. And later they play it in full effect. I'll play it when we get to that scene. I'll put it in later. But it's a terrible song, and he's singing it. And David Carradine is here, and he's like drinking at the bar. And eventually the guy who owns the bar is like, never mind, you're not getting the job, you know? So then he's walking out, and David Carradine is like, man, it sounded pretty good to me. And Quinn is like, yeah, what the fuck do you know? And I was like, oh shit, Quinn, what the fuck, dude?
Sounded okay to me.
Yeah, what the fuck do you mean?
So, seeing as how Quinn can't get a job being his little musical guy, he has no choice but to go ahead and go with the robbery that's about to happen. So we go over to the robbery. They tell Quinn, they're like, you're not staying in the fucking car, you're coming in with us. They give him a gun, and they make him get out of the car, and they all go into the diamond shop, and they rob the place. And then, I don't know if someone got shot or what happened, but an alarm goes off, and Quinn comes out by himself with a box full of diamonds. And his friends are still, his associates are still in the diamond place. And he leaves. He goes to get in the car, but there's no keys. I guess one of the other guys has the keys. So he just goes running down the street with these box of diamonds and just gets hit by a fucking cab. He just walks out into the road and this cab hits him. And so the box of diamonds goes flying. And lands in the street, and we will never see those diamonds again. That is it. Those diamonds are gone from the movie. We then proceed to watch Quinn run through the entire city of New York for about 5 minutes, until he gets to, the Chrysler building, and his lawyer works in the Chrysler Building, and he had called and told him, you know, I got some shit going down. I got to talk to you. You know, be there. Don't lock your door. You know, I'm coming. Of course, he gets there, and the door is locked. He tries to, like, jam it open, but that just sets off an alarm. So now the security is coming up to arrest him for trying to break in to this office. So this dude climbs into, like, the attic of the Chrysler Building and goes up all these fucking stairs, and eventually he, like, climbs up this ladder to get to the very top of the building. And when he gets up there, he's greeted by a nest that seems to be made out of human bones, and on top of the nest is a giant dinosaur egg. And he's like, what the fuck is that, you know? And then he goes, oh man, that's crazy. And then he just takes like 5 steps away from it and starts to take a piss. He like unzips his pants and he's like, oh man, I really got to piss. It's been a busy day. Of course, before he can empty his bladder, a fucking skeleton falls on him. And he's like, oh shit. And the skeleton, first off, it has all of its hair still. It's completely, all the skin is gone, but it has all of its hair. And around its wrists, it has a bracelet made of gold that has little elephants on it. Or, as Quinn will say later in the movie, little fucking dainty elephants.
Oh, come on, what do you think? I read that in the press? Well, what did I read? They were little dainty elephants, little itty bitty dainty elephants on that chain?
And that'll be important for shit he's got going on later. But this is the skeleton of the lady that was sunbathing on the roof that got taken by the dragon. So, by the way, guys, goddamn, I got a new shipment of that woodchuck green apple cider. If y'all remember back when I was drinking that, this shit is delicious. Get yourself some if you haven't already. So he hears the dragon coming back, so he gets the fuck out of there. He's like, I don't want to be here whenever this thing fucking gets back. So he runs away. It's very funny watching him run away because his leg is still fucked up, so it's all stiff and he's just limping everywhere he runs. And it's great. We then cut over to this construction crew, once again just on top of a building, and this guy is complaining that his lunch keeps getting stolen. He's like, this is the 3rd time this fucking week my lunch is getting stolen. He's like, don't fuck with me. He starts yelling at his coworkers and shit, and they're like, man, you're crazy. Ain't no one taking your lunch. And so I was like, oh shit, are they trying to say that the dragon is fucking stealing his lunch every day? But just when I think that, the dragon shows up and bites this dude's fucking head off. And then it turns out, the ultimate twist, that his coworkers were in fact stealing his lunch. We get a shot of the coworkers eating the sandwich, and the guy is like, man, his wife sure makes a good tuna fish sandwich.
You know, his wife makes a damn good tuna sandwich. I'm gonna stop by and see her and tell her about it one of these days.
And so this guy not only gets his lunch stolen, but his wife is probably going to get fucked by this guy, and he just got his head bitten off by a dragon. That's a bad day. That's a bad fucking day for that guy. So now it's pandemonium on the streets because body parts are getting dropped. There's a leg and an arm and shit, and people are running around, and everyone's scared. And at this point, it's basically known throughout the city, hey, there's a fucking dragon going around killing people. David Carradine has a scene where he goes to, like, a museum of voodoo or some shit, and he talks with this dude about how these people have human sacrifices for this fucking bird god. The Q in Q the Winged Serpent is short for, like, Curabrisisi or something, you know, it's the name of like the bird god that they're resurrecting. But yeah, and so David Carradine is starting to connect the dots, and he thinks that the skinned bodies that they found is in relation to the human sacrifices that would have spawned the dragon god that's flying around. He's so interested in this, in fact, that then he goes back to his home and he gets naked and puts on his black kimono And he sits there and reads all these books about fucking this dragon god and the sacrifices and shit. So David Carradine also, he tells his wife that's in bed next to him, he's like, if I can kill this thing, then it's no longer a god. It's just another stupid monster, So we go back to Quinn, and he gets back to his apartment finally that he shares with his girlfriend. This is the first time that you actually see they're together. You knew that they knew each other when he was at the bar trying to get a job because she was giving him like smiles and glances and shit. But this is the first that it like shows, oh, okay, they live together and stuff. And my man in here is having a existential crisis. And he's fucking, like, freaking out. He's like, people are going to think I'm crazy at what I saw. He's like, I just want to fucking cry. I just want to cry. And his girlfriend's like, well, go ahead. And he's like, no, I'm a fucking man. I'm not allowed to cry. I'm supposed to be a man. But I saw a dead body.
And then I go to sleep. I go to sleep under a goddamn staircase. I don't sleep, because I try to sleep. I can't sleep.
Come here. Feel better?
I stink, and I just want to cry. I haven't cried since I was a little kid. I just want to cry.
Go ahead, it's okay.
No, but I'm supposed to be a man. Christ, I don't know what I'm supposed to be. Everything I touch on the outside turns to shit.
And then he, like, hurts his leg, and he's like, ah! And he fucking starts crying into a pillow and shit. This is the first instance in when I wrote down that this guy reminds me of Bill Burr so much. He eventually gets in bed, and the girlfriend is like, listen, just go to sleep. When you wake up, I'll make you a nice bacon and egg breakfast. And the dude goes, no eggs. I don't ever want to see another egg ever. I thought that was funny.
When you wake up, we'll have some nice bacon and eggs.
No eggs. I don't want to ever see another egg ever.
Fucking bird outfits. They look like the Birds of War from the Always Sunny episode. And they have this fucking dude on a slab, and he lays down like voluntarily and shit and just sits there and take it. And they fucking cut out his goddamn heart. And then the next scene, David Carradine and his partner show up to the dead body that's been dumped in the river or ocean, whatever the fuck body of water New York has going on over there. And they're like, oh yeah, he had his fucking heart removed. Yeah. Talk about heartbreak. I don't know. So, now the dinosaur just starts getting lazy at this point, and he just like starts knocking people off of buildings, like not even killing them or eating them. Well, I mean, he is killing them, but he's not actually doing the work. He just like hits them with his tail, and they just fall off of the building. Quinn is at his apartment, and the dudes that he left in the diamond shop show up to confront him, and they want their diamonds. They're like, hey, you got our fucking diamonds. And he tries to tell them, he's like, no, I don't have your diamonds. I got hit by a cab, and the diamonds fucking flew out, and they landed in the street somewhere. I don't know where they are. But they're like, fuck that, you got the diamonds. So Quinn realizes this is a bad situation, so he grabs his gun and his jacket, and he sneaks out of the window and goes down the fire escape. This is when it plays that awful, awful fucking song as he's running away that I'll put in here.
What do you do? What you do to make my baby feel? What do you do? What you do to make my baby feel? Go away, evil dream. Well, you'd better quit messing around, 'cause I'm gonna get myself a gun.
Eventually they chase Quinn down, and they corner him, and they start to beat him up, and they're like, you're gonna tell us where the fucking diamonds are. And finally he's like, okay, I'll tell you. And then we cut to them pulling up in front of the Chrysler building, and I was like, oh shit, this dude's playing the fucking big IQ game. They climb all the way up to the top. He's like, yeah, the diamonds are just up there, So one guy goes and climbs up the ladder, and he sees the egg, and then right after he sees the egg, the mama is there, and fucking bites this dude as he's climbing up the ladder and kills him. And then for some reason, his associate, even though he must have just seen this guy get killed and eaten, he goes up to help him. And we get like this shadow fight between this guy standing there with a gun and like these giant talons. And then Quinn makes a run. He starts going down the stairs and shit. And we hear the other guy getting eaten as Quinn is running away. As Quinn like gets down the stairs, he is losing his fucking mind. And he's like laughing and shit. And he's like, yeah, you fucking found it now. You wanted to find it. You found it. And then we get another random shot of people on a rooftop. This time it's a bunch of people exercising. And like the head, the guy in charge of like the workout regimen or whatever, jumps into this pool. And this is when the dragon comes down and scoops him up in his talons and starts flying him around the city and shit. And that's the big thing that sets it, is everyone in the city saw that. Later there's a report of like 50 witnesses or something. Also, yes, I realize I just said everyone in the city saw that, and I then just told you that only 50 witnesses saw it. But you know, fuck you doing math and shit. Oh, once again, Quinn is leaving the Chrysler building, but he gets cornered by some security. And they fucking arrest him and take him downtown. David Carradine's partner is the one who's interrogating Quinn, and he wants him to give a statement about the diamond robbery. And, you know, him breaking into the Chrysler building and all this shit. But before Quinn can give him any sort of statement, if he was going to, the police chief pulls him and David Carradine to the side, and this is when he tells them that witnesses saw the fucking dragon thing scoop up that guy and go flying off. And David Carradine, this is the first point in the movie, we're about an hour in at this point, where David Carradine goes, oh, okay, I guess I should show you guys my report. And so he had not told anyone that he had been piecing together what was going on with this dragon thing. And so he tells them, he's like, hey, here's, these fucking people that they do these sacrifices, and this is a bird god, and, you know, all this crazy shit. Meanwhile, Quinn is peeping all this out as he's sitting there, and he hears them talking about, pandemonium in the streets with the fucking, the bird thing swooping around. So he uses this to his advantage. And he has a meeting with his girlfriend and tells her that he's going to leverage his information because he knows where the bird nest is. He knows where the bird goes to sleep and all that shit. And they want to find the bird. So he tells her, he's like, I'm going to get, a bunch of fucking shit. I'm going to get all this money and stuff to tell them where this bird is. And his girlfriend is like, fuck the money. Just tell them, there's people are going to die. You need to tell them where it is. And he's like, fuck that. This is my one chance to be important finally. And she's like, I think I liked you better when you were a small-time criminal. And she fucking leaves. So Quinn goes into his meeting with all the police people. And he tells them what he knows. And he's like, I know where the nest is. I found the body. He tells them about the body with the bracelet, and so they know he's not fibbing, and they know which body he's talking about. And this is when he does the whole dainty elephant line and shit.
Oh, come on. What, do you think I read that in the press? Well, what did I read? They were little dainty elephants, little itty bitty dainty elephants on that chain?
He tells them that he wants $1 million. He also wants immunity for all of his crimes that he may or may not have committed. And he wants rights to all the pictures and the book, and everything, anything they get from, any footage they get of the bird, he wants all the rights to it. He's basically planning on just making a fucking killing off of this bird. David Carradine's partner gets, fucking super pissed off. And he's like, a man died yesterday, and you could have prevented that. How does that make you feel? And Quinn is like, that makes me feel like a hero because I'm going to prevent tomorrow's death and the day after that and the day after that. So you can kiss my ass. And then they get in a fight. And David Carradine's partner gets kicked out of the room. And then Quinn goes, yeah, kick him out. And don't you let him plant any cocaine on me. 19 years old. Guy planted cocaine on me because he wanted a charge. And he got me for 3 years. The other crime, I did that one. But I didn't do the I didn't do the cocaine. And I just thought that it was funny that he admits to the one crime he did. But he's upset about the the fake crime that he says he didn't do.
19 years old, I was bereft by a cop like pal because he wanted to get a conviction. The other one I did. I'm all right. Let me go. I'm all right. The next one I did, that was legit.
They agree. They're like, all right, we'll get you your money and shit. Just wait for us to get everything ready. David Carradine then takes Quinn out for coffee as they're waiting, and basically fucking sweet talks this dude, and is gonna get Quinn to just give up the information slowly about where the nest is, so they don't have to pay him. Like he's asking him what Quinn would do to stop him, and he's kind of trying to piece together the building layout. And Quinn is getting to the point where legit he's like, yeah, it's real tall and it's pointy. You know the building. I'm surprised David Carradine just couldn't figure out he was talking about the Chrysler building. But he gets to the point where legit he's just going to tell him. But Quinn's partner decides to walk in right at that moment. And Quinn even tells him, he was like, I was about to spill my guts until you walked in. Thank God. And so then they have no choice but to pay this guy the money. So they give him the $1 million. They sign a contract and shit. And then Quinn's like, all right, let's go kill a bird. And so he shows them to the nest in the Chrysler building. He looks very happy to be here. There's like an army of cops, and he's just smiling, pointing and being like, all right, boys, go ahead, go get him and shit. They keep making Quinn go up the ladders with them. He wants to just stay behind. But they're like, nah, fuck that, you're coming. So they get up to the very top, and David Carradine is like, all right, I'm the first up, and then Quinn, you're the second. David Carradine gets up there, and he sees the egg, and then he just decides to fucking spawn kill it. He starts fucking unloading his machine gun, spraying into this egg. The egg starts to hatch, and as the baby comes out, all of the cops are shooting this baby, and they shoot him in the head, and blood squirts everywhere and shit. It's really fucking brutal. They kill him. David Carradine is like, all right, Quinn, come up here. And so he comes up, and he's like, yeah, look at that, that's a dead egg. But then the baby dinosaur like squirms around, and it scares Quinn, and they tell him, don't worry, it was just a reflex. But he's like, all right, fuck that, I'm going down to the bottom, see you guys later. So sure enough, they go down to the bottom. I thought for sure Quinn was like gonna get eaten up there, like it was gonna be the bird was gonna come back or eat him or something, but no, he lives there. They go back down, and David Carradine tells Quinn that they're not gonna honor the $1 million thing because they wanted the big bird, but they only killed the baby. And Quinn's like, nah, fuck that. It's in writing. I get the money and shit. And David Carradine was like, nah, you don't get any of that shit. But here you go. And he gives him 25 cents because Quinn paid for the coffee that they had earlier because he was thinking he was getting $1 million. And Quinn throws the money at David Carradine, and he goes, fuck you. You can take that money and you can stick it up your little brain. And David Carradine's like, what?
If you'd have done what I told you, you'd have had that bird. And here, take this and stick it up your brain, your small little brain.
So they're now on a mission to try and find the cultists who are performing all the human sacrifices. And the way they do this is they take one cop and dress him up as a fucking mime for some reason, which then it looks stupid as fuck. Because he sees them and they follow them to their warehouse. And the whole time in the back of this cop car, he's still dressed as a mime. He's dressed as a mime the entire time. They're infiltrating the warehouse and shit. I'm half tempted to make the thumbnail for the video be a shot of him and David Carradine's partner where he's dressed up as a mime, and it looks so ridiculous. But they infiltrate this warehouse. They find the cultists that are in the middle of performing a sacrifice. All of the sacrifices apparently have been voluntarily given, at least the ones we've seen, because this guy is volunteering too. And they catch them in the middle of him like scalping open his stomach, and the guy volunteering gets up and he's like, leave us alone, let us do our business. And then he charges the cop who's in front, and the cop fucking shoots him, lays into him, and then he goes, he was coming for me, he was coming for me. And
Drop that scalpel.
Leave him alone. Let us finish in peace. Get off!
He's coming for me. He's coming for me.
And then they go and they chase after the dude who's still in his bird outfit. There's a shot of the mime running around like these curved stairs, and it's great. They run around until eventually David Carradine's partner gets up to the roof, and a kite falls on him, and it scares the shit out of him. But then the fucking dragon comes down and swoops up David Carradine's partner and drops him to the ground below. And this is our first instant of the claymation falls that we will come to love later on in this movie. But yeah, he drops him, and so David Carradine's partner is fucking dead. Also, you caught me once again, since text to speech, I'm talking about him getting scared by the kite, and I go, yeah, this kite fall scares the shit out of him. Oh my god, the dinosaur's here. It scares the shit out of him. So we cut over to more relationship drama, where Quinn is back at his apartment with the girlfriend, and he's fucking pissed off because of everything that's happened, and she's like, you know what, fuck you. And she kicks him out. She kicks him out of the apartment. He has a weird line when he's leaving where he's like, I'll send for my things, and if you can't wait that long, then just put them in the incinerator. And I was like, what? Why would you want that? But you know, whatever. The cops then set up an ambush on top of the Chrysler building to wait for the dragon to come back to its nest. And so they have just cops with machine guns everywhere, in like little booths hanging off of the Chrysler building. And it's like legit, like they put guys up on the Chrysler building with fucking guns and shit. Like, it's crazy looking. And the dragon comes back and they start shooting it. This is when the dragon, he like swats one of the guys off of the building. There's another guy who, I believe it was the guy who was the mime earlier, is now in full cop garb. And he gets grabbed and tossed off the building, and it looks amazing. It's more claymation falls. I'll just put in like a fucking super cut right here of all the claymation falls. They look great. They keep shooting the shit out of it. Eventually, also, they're shooting it, and it's like getting more bloody and shit, and it's like, alright, it's gonna die any minute now. And I was like, shouldn't they have blocked off the street? Because this thing's just gonna fall down to the ground below, where it's gonna crush like all these cars and shit, but whatever. There's a shot where it sticks its head into the building and tries to kill David Carradine, but he turns around and shoots the fuck out of it. Eventually, it crashes into a building, and we get a bunch of people running away and shit. And one of the extras is just rolling around on the ground for no reason at all. I don't know what the fuck he's doing, but I loved it. And then yeah, so that's it. That's the end of the giant dinosaur. They killed it. Quinn is now at his shitty apartment that he has by himself, and he's looking outside out the window, and he's like, I fucking saved all of you. You don't even know it, you know. When there's a knock on his door, and he opens it up, and he gets fucking taken hostage. And the guy that takes him hostage is fucking Shelley Desai, I think is how you pronounce his last name, who is in a whole bunch of shit. I'll put his picture up here. But I know him. He plays the fucking Charlie and Frank's landlord in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. and it's a very young him, and it was amazing to see him, and I was so happy to see him. And it ends up being I think he might have been the head cult guy, the guy, because they never got the guy who was running away from them in the bird outfit. And I think this is who it's supposed to be. And he takes Quinn captive and holds him with a knife to his throat. And, he tells him that he betrayed their god and all this shit, and he's going to pay. But he needs Quinn to repeat the prayer of the bird god before he can kill him. And Quinn is like, fuck you. I don't say prayers for anyone. I don't say prayers at church. I don't say prayers for no one. You can go fuck yourself. And the dude's like, you have to. And Quinn's like, no, I don't. And then David Carradine pops in, and he shoots the dude in the back of the head. He's like, oh, okay, hey, I got you, but he's not dead yet. He gets back up and tries to stab David Carradine, but David Carradine just proceeds to shoot the fuck out of him. He shoots him like 5 or 6 times, and finally the guy is dead. David Carradine then talks to Quinn and tells him, come on, I'll take you back to your girl. But Quinn says, no, the next time I see her, I'm going to have a job. He's like, I think I'm going to get a job playing piano somewhere. I'm pretty good, And David Carradine goes, yeah, what the fuck do you know? And I was like, it's like their first interaction together, And then David Carradine goes and takes a do not disturb sign off of someone's door and puts it on the door where he just killed that guy. And I was like, that's not how this works, David Carradine. You have to go and tell everyone, hey, I just shot this guy in this room. You guys need to go fucking get him out of there. You don't just get to put a do not disturb sign and forget about it. But, whatever, David Carradine. And then the movie ends with another ominous shot of a different dinosaur egg in a different building. And it cracks open to unleash a new giant winged serpent onto the world. And that is the end of the picture. This movie had a budget of $1.1 million, made a box office of $255,000. Not very good at all. Let's do best of, worst of. My best of, fucking Michael Moriarty as Quinn is the best part of this whole movie. He's amazing. His performance is fucking great. His character is great. I loved it. I loved every second of his performance. So that is my best of. Worst of? I don't know. Probably the... What do I want to put as worst of? Probably the scene where David Carradine goes to talk to those guys about the human sacrifice. Like, I get why it was there. It's important. We need to learn about it. But it seemed to go on for like 10 minutes. And it was at the point in the movie where I noticed like the dragon hasn't been around for a while. And I was like, come on, let's just get to something. Because the movie started off fast and strong with dudes getting their heads bit off and shit. The corpses looked really good too. Like the headless corpse. B-movie headless corpse is one of my favorite headless corpses. They seem to always look pretty cool. But yeah, so that's probably my worst of for this movie. But besides that, that is it. That's the end of Q, the Winged Serpent from 1982. What a fucking adventure that was. Ooh boy. Yeah. So next week, I don't know. I think next week I might finally watch Nope. I think I have a time where I can actually like sit down and watch it, and not feel rushed to get it out. So next week it might be Nope finally, even though once again, I don't think that's technically a horror movie either, from what I've heard, but either way. But besides that, go check out the gaming channel and everything. Stuff's coming out there. Me and Maverick are trying to finish up Saints Row, so hopefully a video of that can come out pretty soon. It's been a couple of weeks since something's coming out over there, but that's all right. That's all right. It'll get back up to hopping around eventually. I gotta sit down and play through some shit. Yeah, very excited about the new Mortal Kombat game coming out. They're also working on the second movie. We reviewed the first movie. Not the first movie, but the new one from a couple years ago. So I'm excited for number 2. Yeah. But also, I find it fun. I think I referenced Always Sunny like 3 or 4 times during this podcast. New season started. Happy with that so far. They've been all right. So go check out the new Always Sunny season if you haven't. But besides that, yeah, come back next week. Probably will be Nope. Not 100%, but, there's a good chance that it'll be Nope. And I will see you guys then. Okay. Bye-bye.